Welcome back, everyone. It's Finance Friday, another special edition of Money Girl. This is the show where I answer your burning money questions each week. I really love hearing from you and just hearing what's on your mind. So if something finance related is worrying you or you have a question, please leave me a voicemail by calling 302-364-0308. You can remain anonymous or let me know if you're okay with me using your voice on the show. Today's terrific question comes from an email I received from Erica B., who writes, "Thanks for your show. I've been listening for years and have learned so many wonderful tips on how to manage money and grow my wealth. I'm 46 with 3 months worth of emergency savings and no debt other than my mortgage. I'm contributing 10% of my income to my 401k and receiving an additional 3% employer match. I keep hearing about the benefits of a Roth IRA. If I'm unable to max out the annual limit for my 401k, what are the pros and cons of also contributing to a Roth IRA?" That is an excellent question, Erica. I really appreciate you sending it in. And congratulations on what you've achieved with your money. Having a healthy emergency fund, no consumer debt, and contributing a total of 13% of income to a retirement plan means you're on a great financial path. And I love that Erica's also considering the benefits of a Roth retirement account. This podcast will review who can contribute to a Roth IRA and the pros and cons of having one when you also contribute to a retirement plan at work. So first, let's review the differences between traditional and Roth accounts. When you're choosing between these two, it's really essential to understand their key differences, which mainly concern when you pay taxes and the various contribution limits. So any type of traditional account, it could be a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k, traditional 403b, they allow you to make tax-deferred contributions. In other words, the funds you put in are not included in your taxable income for the year, and that reduces your tax liability. Your investment earnings in a traditional retirement account also grow tax deferred. However, your withdrawals of contributions and the earnings in the account are taxed as ordinary income in retirement. In addition, if you take any withdrawals before reaching the official retirement age of 59 and a half, they would also be subject to an additional 10% early withdrawal penalty unless an exception applies. Now, once you reach age 73, you have to take required minimum distributions, or known as RMDs, from traditional retirement accounts. This is the way the government makes sure that you're going to pay tax on the income in the account. Roth accounts are very different. They could be a Roth IRA, Roth 401k, or a Roth 403b. They require non-deductible contributions. In other words, you make them with after-tax dollars. And while a Roth doesn't offer you any upfront tax benefits, the big thing with them is that the withdrawals of contributions and earnings are entirely tax-free after age 59 and a half, as long as you've owned the account for at least 5 years. Also, Roth accounts don't have any RMDs, so that means, you're not required to take money out at a specific age. And you can withdraw your original contributions anytime without taxes or penalties, because you do have to pay taxes when you put the money in the account. However, withdrawals of Roth earnings before age 59 and a half are subject to taxes plus a 10% early withdrawal penalty unless an exception applies. In general, funding a traditional account is best when you need a tax break in the current year. It's also beneficial if you believe your tax bracket, or just the average tax rate, will be lower in retirement than it is today. In that case, delaying taxes means you could end up paying less in the future than you would by paying them now. Since Roth accounts give you the opposite tax benefit, they're a better choice when you believe you'll be in a higher tax bracket or have a higher average tax rate in retirement than today. However, I will say if you're unsure about your future tax situation, none of us knows the answer to what's going to happen, or you just simply want to diversify your tax situation, you can use both traditional and Roth accounts. I think that's really the best of both worlds. Having tax-free Roth funds in retirement can give you peace of mind that you won't have to share the balance with the government. In addition, as I previously mentioned, you have the flexibility to tap original Roth contributions anytime without taxes or penalties. Having that tax diversification and getting tax-free withdrawals are likely the benefits that Erica's been hearing about, and they are terrific. Now, she didn't mention whether her employer offers a Roth 401k. So if that is an option, Erica could split her 10% contribution in any proportion she likes between a traditional and a Roth 401k at work. However, if her job doesn't offer a Roth, she might be eligible for a Roth IRA. So we'll talk about that next. How do you qualify for a Roth IRA? Well, unlike other types of retirement accounts, a Roth IRA is unique because it does have income limits that you must not exceed to qualify for contributions. And the limit depends on your tax filing status and your modified adjusted gross income or MAGI. So I'll go through it. Single taxpayers must have MAGI, again, that's modified adjusted gross income, of less than $150,000 for 2025 or less than $153,000 for 2026. So those are the income cutoffs where you would qualify to contribute to a Roth IRA. Now, if you're a married taxpayer and you file jointly with your spouse, you must have a MAGI of less than $236,000 for 2025 or less than $242,000 for 2026. And if you're married but you file taxes separately from a spouse, you have to have MAGI of less than $10,000 for both 2025 and 2026 to qualify for a Roth IRA. So if you qualify to contribute to a Roth IRA, but maybe you become ineligible in the future because your income goes up, you can keep your account indefinitely and just enjoy its tax-free growth. However, you can only make new contributions if your income dips below the annual allowable limit. Be aware that Roth IRAs have a unique rule that you must own the account for 5 years before qualifying to withdraw earnings penalty-free, no matter your age. Therefore, if Erica qualifies for a Roth IRA, I recommend that she open one sooner rather than later, even just to make a small contribution that will start that 5-year clock. If you wait until you're older to open a Roth IRA, you could get into a situation where you must pay tax on the earnings portion of a distribution, even after age 59 and a half, because you still need to satisfy the 5-year ownership requirement. For 2025, the contribution limit for either a Roth or a traditional IRA is equal to you or your spouse's earned income up to $7,000 or $8,000 if you're over 50. Now, for 2026, those limits are going up. They will increase to $7,500 or $8,600 if you're over 50. If you want to contribute to both a traditional and a Roth IRA, you can split those contributions in any proportion as long as you don't exceed the annual contribution limit. For example, if you're under 50 in 2025, you could contribute $3,000 to a traditional IRA and $4,000 to a Roth IRA if you qualify for one. So if you want to reduce your taxes sooner rather than later, a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k is an excellent choice. If you're like Erica and you have a workplace plan with employer matching, definitely prioritize maxing out that match before contributing to an IRA. Those free matching funds are valuable for boosting your account balance, so don't take those for granted. For instance, Erica gets a 3% match, and I'm going to assume that's a full match. If she earns $100,000 and contributes 3% or $3,000 of her own money to the 401k, Her employer would also contribute $3,000. If she plans to contribute 10%, she could contribute the remaining 7% or $7,000 to a Roth IRA. You can contribute to a traditional 401k and a Roth IRA in the same year if you don't exceed each account's annual limit. And for 2025, you can contribute up to $23,500 to a workplace retirement plan, and that limit will increase to $24,500 in 2026. And if you're over 50, you can contribute additional catch-up contributions of $7,500 in 2025 or $8,000 in 2026. Or if you're 60, 61, 62, or 63, that is a narrow age range when you qualify for super catch-up contributions that are $11,250 in both 2025 and 26 instead of that $7,500 or $8,000. So if you're in your early 60s, you qualify for a higher catch-up contribution. And the good news is that you can exceed those annual thresholds with matching funds because matching funds are not included in the annual limits. Unlike a Roth IRA, there are no income limits to qualify for a workplace Roth. So if you don't mind paying taxes in the current year, or maybe you just want as much tax-free income in retirement as possible, then a Roth IRA or even a Roth workplace plan has many advantages. So unless Erica has a high tax bill that she's trying to reduce, I recommend contributing to both traditional and Roth accounts. If possible, she might use a Roth 401k at work to keep all her funds in the same employer account. However, the upside of opening a Roth IRA is that, as I mentioned, she would start the 5-year ownership clock right now. Plus, she could aim to max out both her 401k and Roth IRA for a total contribution of $33,100 in 2026 if she's under 50. And that would break down as a base contribution of $24,500 to her 401k plus $8,600 to a Roth IRA. Again, those are the limits that she could reach for in 2026. Using both traditional and Roth accounts gives you a mix of taxable and tax-free income in retirement. That gives you the ability to better manage your taxable income once you start taking account distributions. For instance, you could withdraw enough from a traditional account to stay in a lower tax bracket, and then take Roth distributions to avoid additional tax. All right, let's go through 10 ways a Roth 401k differs from a Roth IRA. So if you're unsure whether to use a Roth at work or to open up a Roth IRA, we'll go through 10 differences to help you understand, how these accounts work. So number 1, eligibility rules. You can only have a Roth at work if your employer offers it. But anyone with earned income below the annual allowable limits, and that includes minors and seniors, can have a Roth IRA. Number 2 are spousal benefits. A key feature of traditional and Roth IRAs is that you qualify even if you don't have income, provided you file taxes jointly with a spouse. You could be unemployed, a stay-at-home parent, or run your own part-time business and still be able to contribute to a IRA. Number 3 are contribution limits. I reviewed the annual contribution limits, which vary significantly between a 401k and an IRA. The IRA is much lower, so you can stash away much more in a Roth 401k than in a Roth IRA. Number 4, employer matching. In addition to those high contribution limits, many workplace retirement plans offer matching funds to incentivize participation. Note that matching funds are always pre-tax, so they're going to get deposited into a traditional account on your behalf. Number 5, income limits. There are no income limits you must satisfy to participate in a Roth at work. However, for a Roth IRA, single taxpayers must have a MAGI of $150,000 or less for 2025 or $153,000 or less for 2026. Married taxpayers must have a MAGI less than $236,000 for 2025 or less than $242,000 for 2026. Number 6, investment options. Another difference between IRAs and workplace retirement plans is going to be your menu of available investments. Number 7, early withdrawals. The rules for taking early withdrawals are similar for Roth workplace retirement plans and Roth IRAs. For both, withdrawals are tax-free if you're 59 and a half and have owned the account for at least 5 years. Otherwise, distributions of earnings will be subject to taxes plus a 10% early withdrawal penalty unless an exception applies. Number 8, taking loans. With either a traditional or Roth IRA, no loans are allowed. However, some employer plans may offer retirement account loans. Most 401ks and 403bs allow you to borrow up to 50% of your vested account balance, up to $50,000. However, you must repay yourself with interest within 5 years. Otherwise, the outstanding balance is taxed as an early withdrawal. Number 9, required minimum distributions. With a Roth at work and a Roth IRA, there are no RMDs. And number 10, retiring early. There's an IRS provision known as the Rule of 55 that allows workers who leave their jobs for any reason to take penalty-free distributions from their retirement accounts starting at age 55 rather than 59 and a half. However, that rule does not apply to traditional or Roth IRAs. To sum up my answer for Erica, I recommend contributing enough to fully take advantage of her employer match. And she can do that by contributing to her traditional 401k or, if offered, a Roth 401k. In that case, she could continue contributing 10% to her 401k. But if she doesn't have a workplace Roth and she qualifies for a Roth IRA, she should open one on her own and contribute 7% of her income or any amount she likes up to the annual contribution limit. As I mentioned, opening a Roth IRA is wise even if you already have a Roth at work, so you can start and satisfy its 5-year holding period sooner rather than later. A big thanks again to Erica for sending in this great question. Remember that you can call in with your question. You'll find the phone number in the show notes. I look forward to hearing from you. That's all for now. I'll talk to you soon. Until then, here's to living a richer life. Money Girl is a quick and dirty tips podcast, and we've got a great team working on the show. I want to thank Steve Rickyberg, our audio engineer. Holly Hutchins is our director of podcast. Morgan Christensen is our advertising operations specialist. Rebecca Sebastian is our marketing and publicity manager. And Nathaniel Hoops is our marketing contractor.